Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. At that time, Jesus answered, I give praise to you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, for although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to the children. Yes, Father, such has been your gracious will. All things have been handed over to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son wishes to reveal him. Come to me, all of you who labor and are burdened. I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart, and you will find rest for yourselves. For my yoke is easy and my burdens light. The Gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. The focus on that reading, I think, in a kind of romantic way, spiritual, but not necessarily religious spiritual, is on the heart of Jesus. And I think when we say we love somebody, we usually give them our hearts, okay? We don't obviously take it out of our bodies to give it to them. But giving someone our hearts, loving someone, takes us inside ourselves and evaluating who the person is, the object of our desire, our love and desire, and then we do what's best for that person, okay? We give to that person. Sometimes, especially as a marriage counselor, I see this a lot. He doesn't give me what I want. She doesn't give me what I want. And I sometimes have to interrupt my clients and say, wait a minute, you loved her, you loved him because the attraction you had for him and vice versa. And what are you doing to express that love? What are you doing to show him or her that you love them? Well, I want, forget what I want. You know, it's what are you doing? And that's very important because love wants the best for the other person. And it's selfless. That's love. That's what love is all about. God is love, and we got the great example of Jesus giving himself to us completely and not asking for anything back, but to love one another in turn. So in the 1600s, he was born in 1601, Saint John Eudes, a priest who we commemorate today, in France. He was part of various religious orders. He founded one and left one and founded another one. But the focus of his ministry was to express the love of the hearts of Mary and Jesus to his people. He was a great preacher. He was very well known. He lived during the time of Richelieu, Cardinal Richelieu, in the 1600s. And this is an example of the kind of person he was. He lived in a parish, probably very different than the parish life of a priest today, but he lived with other priests, like in community. And the plague broke out. So he wanted to go minister to the plague victims. This is pre-COVID and pre-vaccination and pre-antibiotics. So you can imagine what a mess that section of France was then. So in order to minister to them, he had the realization, as anyone with a brain realizes, that he could, one, catch the virus from the plague, and two, he could bring it back to the community. So he set himself up a huge, it's like a barrel, a cask, okay? A cask. It's if you go to some of the great wineries, you'll see them big wine barrels in which they make the wine and so on. But he laid it on its side and put it out in the field, and that's where he lived while he was ministering to the plague victims. I mean, think of that, how much he loved the people that he served as well as the people that he lived with, that he refused to give them or carry to them the virus of the plague. So he was a great spiritual writer, and his writings have a lot to do with the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So the church chooses this section of the readings from St. Paul to the Ephesians because it sort of brings us back to the heart of the matter, literally Jesus, okay? No matter who we venerate or what saint we want to pray about, we always go back to Jesus. Okay? He's the root, he's the heart. And he says, Paul says to the Ephesians, my prayer is that Christ dwell in your hearts. Wow. Okay, so if I love someone, my husband, wife, child, neighbor, by me, I'm okay, I'm capable of loving. But if I love with Christ in my heart, whoa, that breaks it out of the box. Because I get cranky, I get moody, I get, jealous, and all of us are like that. So if I love with the love of Christ, who gave everything, and he continues, with Christ we have the strength to comprehend everything. And don't forget, Christ gives us the breadth and length and height and depth of what it is to surpass knowledge. So that means meditating on Christ in our hearts, meditating on who he is, what he has done for me, for the world, for the universe, and bringing that meditation to my own heart. And again, we're not talking the organ, we're talking about our minds, our spirituality, our willingness to love. And when Jesus says in the Gospel of Matthew, listen, I like you guys a lot, but I want you to follow me. And you know what? Take my burden on your shoulder, because my burden will be light and easy. And come after me, all of you who are burdened, and you'll find rest in me, because I'm meek and humble of heart. So, by meditating on Christ, and under the title of Sacred Heart, and Mary, Immaculate Heart we call her, we can really get a greater insight to the depths to which we are invited to live as human beings. If I bring Christ more and more into my heart and love, and I'll say you, whoever you are, my family, my friends, my neighbors, the stranger, the poor, if I love them with the love of Christ in my heart, it's less me, more Christ. And the burden of loving will not be a burden. It will be a blessing. Because not only am I willing the good for the other person, but by doing that, I'm receiving God's grace. I'm nurturing myself. You give and you get back. Those of us who do it, and I'm sure all of you do it, to a degree, you know what I mean. When I love, I get back. If I love selfishly, I get nothing. If I love to get something, I get nothing. But if I love just for the sake of the other person, and I don't care if that person is God, my child, my spouse, the neighbor, if I love him or her for their sake and bring Christ into that love, it's overwhelming how much I get back. And the security of knowing I'm in Jesus and Jesus is in me. He's a great character for us. The Word made flesh, Jesus.